You're on the Six Screens Telenetwork, earning the reputation of giving all the right ingredients, uninhibited in exposing the hard, cold facts about the Watchtower Society. And now, the Disney.
Well, my friends, here we go. Another Saturday night on the Six Screens. Wow, we are so glad you're coming in. What a powerful night of networking we got going on here tonight. Stay with us. There you have it. Boy, I see we got a lot of people coming through here tonight. Well, welcome in. Welcome in to JW World News. Well, that's the news the Watchtower doesn't want us talking about. But we talk about it here every Saturday night. And we have been doing it for 16 years. And we are here because you are here. Well, anyways, my name's Rick Ferrin. I'm coming to you from the apostate capital of the world, right up here in Tewksbury, Massachusetts. It's about 20 miles north of Boston. Well, friends, you guys, I know I get excited. I know sometimes you say, geez, Rick, calm down a little bit. How can you calm down? How can I calm down when I see the Watchtower collapsing? It is being crushed. It really is. Not only from us apostates, but governments around the world and other religions too. They're beginning to see how evil the Watchtower is, including the Southern Baptist Convention. That's a pretty large group of people. And, they just came out in the last month and they were willing to admit that they have pedophiles too. Yes, not as many as the Watchtower. And their numbers seem to be really so much bigger. They're like 10, well, more than that. They're like probably 30, 40 times, as Chad was just saying, bigger than the Watchtower. But you know what? At least they're not hiding it. They have on their website, you can get on the Southern Baptist Convention website and you can see all of the pedophiles. They're listed there in the sex offender registry. Is the Jehovah's Witness organization doing that? Absolutely not. They're not. You know it, I know it. But that's why other religions is saying, we're willing to come forward, including the Catholic Church. They came forward. They were willing to stretch out their arms and reach to the victims that they abused, helping them financially, helping them emotionally, at least saying you're sorry even. Have the witnesses done that? No, they haven't. They haven't. So, the world is catching up. How long can the Watchtower really continue to pull the wool over people's eyes? They can't. They can't. People are waking up by the thousands. As a matter of fact, next year at this time, I'll be able to report to you by the millions. We have so many people right now on the precipice. They are ready to step out. I see it online. I see it in the YouTube videos. I span the internet. I look and see what's going on in the world of Jehovah's Witnesses. It's not good. It's not good at all. And how about, well, we know they all went back to the meetings, right? We all know they went back to the meetings about a month ago. So I'm going to give you a little in-person attendance update. So what have we been finding since the Jehovah's Witnesses have gone back to the meetings? I mean, they've gone back. They're off of Zoom. Well, they're still on Zoom for those that don't want to go to the meeting in fear of catching COVID. I'm sure they're using that as an excuse. So the in-person meeting attendance, it is in the toilet. It really is. I have people writing to me. I get information I'm going to share with you. So one man told me that there were so many missing from the Kingdom Hall. It was just unbelievable. He couldn't believe it. He was saying that, they one time had a big group, but the numbers have dropped. I'm going to give you some specific numbers here. Also, some information here I'll share with you. At one particular Kingdom Hall, just a couple of days ago, when they had their midweek meeting, they had 60 people. Well, that doesn't sound too bad, right? But before COVID, they had 120. So you do the numbers, run the math on that. Take 120 and divide it in half. You'll end up with 60. That's half of the people. Now, some perhaps were on Zoom. But how about in Canada? What's going on up in Canada with all of these meetings in person? Well, before COVID, one congregation's reporting to me they had 70 to 90 people in the congregation. Now they got 30 to 50 is the average meeting. And how about this? Just a couple of days ago, I got this message. We have an astounding attendance of 23 people in person. 23 people. I used to go to book studies that had more than 23 people. So he's saying here that 23 people in person. And he says, I remember the day when there was never any less than 80 people. Friends, I'm going to say it. I want you to underline it. This cult is coming to an end. Don't you love the way that sounds? Yes, this cult is coming to an end, and I hope to see it in my lifetime. I really do, and I know we will. I'm not giving them, I'm not going to name any years here, but I'm willing to go out on the limb. If this organization is the organization that we all knew as Jehovah's Witnesses in 4 to 5 years, I'll be shocked. We're going to see a whole brand new organization emerge from the Watchtower. The other thing, I'll tell you what's really causing a lot of problems for meeting attendance, it's Zoom. Zoom is the cult killer. Zoom is the cult killer. And I find that to be true. After being away from meetings in person for over 2 years, and then the Watchtower says, okay, everybody, okay, come on, put your Sunday clothes on and come to the meeting. It stinks. People don't like it. I mean, really, after 2 years, you say, I don't want to go back there. And most of the Kingdom Halls, who do you think sitting there? 20-year-olds? 30-year-olds? No. 40-year-olds? No. How about 60, 70, and 80-year-olds? The elderly people. They're the ones that are attending the meetings. And also, where is all the growth coming from? If you want to call it growth, the Watchtower brags of, we've got growth. Well, the only growth that's coming to the organization is from children, grandchildren, and relatives that are indoctrinated, forced, coerced to get baptized into the organization. Now, other reports I got him, I'm going to continue. I love reading stories like this. I know this is music to your ears. I know you like it too. Now, also, I got this information. So this man has a 7-year-old congregation, and he tells me that in 7 years since the congregation was started, and you know how they played games, they started new congregations, switch people around. So his congregation has been in existence for 7 years. And how many people do you think his congregation brought in from the territory to get baptized? How many people? Just take a thought. How many people got baptized coming in from the territory? One person. Wouldn't you say going out in service or writing letters or calling people on the phone for the last 7 years have been a waste of time? Would you still want to be a Jehovah's Witness and serve in their ministry if that's all you can do is bring one person in 7 years. Well, how about Sunday? How about the Sunday meetings? I mean, those were the big meetings, right? That's where all the people would put their Sunday clothes on, polish their shoes, bring their relatives, bring their friends. Public was open. Come on in. It's open. The doors are open. Come into the hall. Sunday meetings, they're tanking too. In fact, reports from last Sunday, one person gave me this information. Sunday was so bad. The first 6 rows of the Kingdom Hall, they were empty. Yes. So, we're not just sitting here blowing wind. These are actual events. These are actual occurrences that are taking place since the Jehovah's Witnesses went back to meet in person. Now, I'm going to give you another statistic, and then we'll move on. I'll get your thoughts on it. But I'm going to give you another. I can't read them all here, but let's go with this one because we're kind of limited. But in the last 20 years, this one person sent me information. In the last 20 years, in his Kingdom Hall, how many people came in 20 years? Now think about it. 20 years, 2 people. 2 people. Something's wrong. I have to tell you, Satan kicked me out of the organization back in 2005. I was disfellowship for apostasy. But let me tell you something. Even the congregation back in 2005, we were bringing people in. When I was a card-carrying witness, we were bringing people. I was getting people to come to the meeting. Other witnesses were getting to come to the meeting. And some of these people ended up getting baptized. But I mean, not just 2 people in 20 years. Something's going nuts. Seriously. This Watchtower, nobody's liking the message. No, it's very distasteful. It's a bad product. It really, really is. They don't give you a sample of the product before you join either. You never hear of how heinous and evil their disfellowshipping is. You never hear that you never celebrate any holidays. They really don't, press that into you when you're studying with the witnesses. Not that it's totally hidden, but it's somewhat hidden, right? Did you know it? Would you have got baptized if you knew the full extent of the Watchtower's position on some of these things they do to people? I don't think you would.
With that, I wouldn't. I wouldn't have got baptized. Person that I studied with says, you can give up that Catholic religion. You don't have to tell your sins to a man in a box, and you can just pray to God and get forgiveness. It's not true. That's not how it works with Jehovah's Witnesses. If you commit a serious sin, whatever they consider serious, you have to tell the elders. Otherwise, according to their theology, Jehovah takes the Holy Spirit away from the congregation, and the elders have to go find out do an investigation and find out who that evil person is and disfellowship him so the congregation can be clean. A bunch of baloney.
Well, Dick, just stop and think about it. Now, let's say you go to Walmart. You go to Walmart and you buy, I don't know, maybe you buy you buy some new sheets. I'm just throwing something out on the table here. So you buy some new sheets at Walmart. So you get them home and you sleep on the sheets. And man, all you're doing is itching all night long. You're saying these sheets are so uncomfortable. You say, but maybe it's my mattress, but I think it's the sheets. I wasn't itching before. So you slay on them for another night or two and you say, these sheets are terrible. You could bring them back to Walmart. Yeah, you walk right into the refund center at Walmart. You say, hey, I bought these sheets. I don't like them. They don't even ask any questions. Okay, sir, here's your money back. Put these sheets in the bin. That's what you do. Now, does the Watchtower let you do that? No. Do they let you get in after a few months? You say, geez, this isn't for me. I want out. You can't get out. It's like the Hotel California, Dick, right? You can't get out.
Absolutely.
Yeah. So, there's no free samples. There's no returns. No returns here. Keep moving. So I just want to bring that up. How about anybody else? Is there anybody else out there? If you knew what the Jehovah's Witnesses were truly like, well, would you have got involved with these people? What do you think? *6 if you want to talk. Would you got involved with them? I don't think you would have. No, I really don't. But let me see what they're saying here on. Well, yeah, good stuff, Rick. Well, I mean, we got a lot of people commenting here, but I know most people. I'm not going to speak for them, but I don't think there's anyone listening to this program tonight. If they knew what was in store for them once they basically signed on the dotted line, and what that means is baptism. Once you're baptized, you signed on the dotted line. You're a cook goose. There's no way you're going. There's no way you're going. Well, anyways, let's talk about this. Let's talk about this.
Rick?
Yes.
I'm sorry, just real quick, it just made me think that, the Watchtower is so slick and so smooth and so beguiling. It's like coming to my parlor, to the spider, to the fly. It reminds me, the organization reminds me of a Venus flytrap. They look so beautiful and inviting and have that sweet smelling sticky stuff down deep in each petal. And, the fly or whatever insect goes in there because they're drawn in. But once they're in, too late. You can't escape. To me, that's what Watchtower is. Thank you, Rick.
Well, you're absolutely.
Hey, Rick.
Yes, Randy.
In addition to all the reasons that you mentioned about why they're not getting any new numbers coming in,
Yeah.
I think their paranoia is another reason. With their locked doors, they're very secretive. I mean, they interrogate people about even giving them the secretive codes to watch it on Zoom. A lot of the Kingdom Halls don't even post phone numbers of the elders or any way to reach them. So it's just like they're not really it looks to me like they're not wanting anybody new coming in. And I got to say, though, you mentioned about not very many 30-year-olds. I know of some places where there are several 30-year-olds, but they're all ones that have a position that people's looking up to them, bound down to them, if you want to say that. So those are the ones I think that are still going in attendance, along with maybe a few of the diehard. But I think most of them, after 2 years of not having that brainwashing, they just don't want to go back.
Well, you're right, Randy. You're absolutely right. Who would want to go back? My goodness. Well, thank you, Randy. Always good to hear from you, my man. Don't you be a stranger. Come back soon and see us. All right. So.
Yeah. Hello, Mr. Kern.
Yes, Ken. Yes, Ken.
Okay. Commenting on this, what you talked about right now is many years ago, people were not as educated. They were not as, didn't have the resources that we do this day and age right now. No television, no radio hardly, or nothing, and even hardly nothing to read. So the Watchtower Society was able to exploit the situation by going around and simplifying their doctrine and so forth. And they were able to brainwash a lot of people of coming in and so forth, all the way up to the maybe 70s and 80s and all that. But now it's like you always say, we've got the great equalizer. We've got more and more information coming on television on them, more and more information on the radio, and then especially the internet, and especially the publications that are out right now and so forth, that's exposing them. So they're going back to the halls, and they're going back to the door-to-door work or whatever it is, or writing letters. I don't care what they do. It's not going to do any good. They're going to get a few people, but they're not going to ever get as many as they used to. And I think it's like you said, that they're simply, generally speaking, going to go downhill.
I'm with you, Ken. I like how you sound, too. Thank you, Ken, for weighing in with us and giving us your thoughts on it. I'm going to put up on the screen right now for those that can see it on YouTube. What you're looking at there, you're looking at the study edition. They're studying it right now as we speak, from what I understand. They'll be studying this May 2020 Watchtower study edition. They'll be studying that, it looks like tomorrow, I believe, but it's the May 22nd. I'm sorry, the May 2022. But the reason why I bring it up, first of all, before I even get into the magazine, because I want to share something with you. Now, what the biggest buzz, I must have seen 20, 25, maybe, not comments, but posts and threads about this magazine. This is really rocking the Jehovah's Witness world. And basically, before I get into the magazine, I'm just going to throw this on the table because I know that you guys out there are going to kind of agree with me. Maybe you never heard this. I don't know. But the Watchtower, different areas of the world and even different areas of this country, the USA, the Watchtower works with what they call regionalism. The different regions get different information. Did you know that? Well, after 16 years of doing the 6 screens, that is quite profoundly noticeable, at least in my book, when people call in from pretty much all over the country, all over the world, and they share things with me that I never heard. Different terms, different, not to be picayune here, but I'll just give you an idea with this regionalism. For example, my wife is from the Midwest. Susan's from Chicago, Illinois. And, when she first came and we got to know each other, she told me she was a need grader. I did not know what a need grader was. I never heard the term here in New England. So a need grader, we always referred to it as a person who went where the need was great. But that's what we called them here. And then even another thing, I've done many programs. I've done hundreds of programs on the 6 screens, and different people have said different things from different areas. For example, when it came to blood, now, you know what happens? Sometimes the Watchtower doesn't publish. The Watchtower does not publish in publications what you hear from people and circuit overseers and elders. They plant little seeds in your head. But, I've always said, well, what were some of the things, we've had programs on here, what are some of the things that the Watchtower kind of inferred there was blood in? And, people would say, well, hot dogs had blood, wine had blood, plywood had blood, and then, Dairy Queen. And, I never heard that in this neck of the woods, but so many people said, oh, no, Rick, it was all around the area that Dairy Queen ice cream had blood in it. I said, I never heard that. Then some people said Hershey bars, and other people never heard that. See, these little innuendos, these little thoughts get passed around in regions. And I feel the Watchtower sends trial balloons out. So anyways, the reason why I'm doing and saying what I'm saying is because different people have had different thoughts. And that comes into play with this May 2022 Watchtower. Now, what they're saying is there's new light. There's new light. Everybody, all these PMOs are saying new light, Rick. There's new light. I'm not totally seeing it. I can see there might be some more emphasis on things, but I don't see it as new light. And I'll discuss that with you. Now, I'm going to read right verbatim from the Watchtower, May 2022, Study 21, paragraph 17, if you have one. And this is what it says. Now, listen, and then we'll discuss it. It says, who will benefit from these wonderful provisions? Well, they're talking about the resurrection provision. In other words, coming back in the resurrection. So that's, there's 16 paragraphs before this, but that's what it's dealing with, is the resurrection. So who will benefit from these wonderful provisions? First of all, the great crowd of Armageddon survivors, along with any children who may have been born in the new world. So, yeah, Revelation chapter 20 also promises that the dead will be resurrected. Well, we knew that as witnesses, right? That the dead would come to life. They would be resurrected. It says, faithful, righteous ones who died in the past, along with unrighteous ones who did not receive an adequate opportunity to learn about Jehovah, will all come back to life here on earth. All right, you got that. Just to emphasize, they're talking about the resurrection. Who's going to come back in the resurrection? Well, they're saying they're going to be faithful ones who died, faithful, righteous ones, and they're going to come back in a resurrection into the new world. And then they also say that those who were unrighteous ones that died, and they emphasize here, they did not receive an adequate opportunity to learn about Jehovah. They will also be coming back I do have, it looks like someone calling in here, but let me just see what that would be. Well, let me just end that right now. Oh, okay. We'll end that right now. I'm sorry, but I keep my phone on for people trying to come into the program that can't. So that's okay. We're all set there. So let's just go on with this article. So they're saying that unrighteous ones who never had a chance to learn about Jehovah, they're going to come back in the resurrection. Also, those who died as Jehovah's Witnesses are going to come back. Those will be the righteous ones. It shows here who will benefit from the 1,000-year reign. Who will benefit from the provisions represented by a river and by trees? Does this mean that everyone will be resurrected to life on earth during the 1,000-year reign? No. Those, and this is their words, those who wickedly rejected the opportunity to serve Jehovah before their death will not be raised to life. So if you wickedly rejected the opportunity to serve Jehovah before you died, you are not coming back in the resurrection. They, according to the Watchtower, and I'm reading it verbatim, they had their chance. Now that sounds like kid talk, doesn't it? Oh, he had his chance and he didn't do it. Well, that's exactly what the Watchtower is saying. These ones had it.
How dare they dispense salvation, Rick?
Yeah.
How dare they
yeah.
dispense salvation until another human that?
Yeah, well, they had their chance, Pixie. And Watchtower is saying they proved that they were not worthy of life on paradise earth. Oh, isn't that something?
That's a bunch of men in New York State trying to tell us what only is between us and the almighty universe.
Yes. Now, let me tell you what happens here. Let me go on with the story. What happens here next? Now, do you just stop and think about that? What if you had parents that died when you were a little kid and your two parents died and they actually heard a little bit about the message of Jehovah's Witnesses, but they decided not to listen? Maybe you were a little kid and the witnesses came to your door and your parents said, no, we're not interested in the magazines. And so they decided not to listen to the witnesses. According to this article, they don't have a chance of coming back. What does that do for this young person who now might be one of Jehovah's Witnesses? Pixie, I'm going to have you just kind of hold your thoughts here, if you would, so I can get through with this. Then when I open up the line, you can come in and talk, because I just want to get through with this. We had a lot of news stories tonight. So that is, according to the Watchtower, they don't have a chance. So here's my thought for the Watchtower. Now, they're using the phrase, those who wickedly reject the opportunity. How precisely, what is the difference between wickedly rejecting the opportunity of being a witness and a normal rejection? I would think, well, what is the difference? Or are they the same? I mean, what would qualify for wickedly opposing? Well, my thoughts on that, I suppose, would be that when the Watchtower inserts the word wickedly opposing, they mean that they are rejecting the opportunity to be a witness and they are living wicked lives. They will lose their eternal life and they're going to be wicked. That's what I'm thinking. I mean, but even a normal person who doesn't want to become one of Jehovah's Witnesses, he's cooked too. So it's
goody, they used adjective.
Yeah. So 100%, the Watchtower publication is saying, this isn't my interpretation, the Watchtower is saying that if you had the opportunity to learn about Jehovah, Jehovah's Witnesses, Jehovah God, the Watchtower, whatever you want to call it, if you had that opportunity and you wickedly rejected it, or even nominally rejected it, you're doomed. No hope for you, pal. So now I'll tell you what, I actually heard of someone that thought that they were going to get a second chance. Now, this is This is where I'm saying regionalism comes in. I'll just share this with you. My mother-in-law was never one of Jehovah's Witnesses. My mother-in-law studied for a short while with me and my wife, former wife, but she never became one of Jehovah's Witnesses. She died. She died back in 1985. I actually gave the talk. She wasn't, she didn't have a talk at the Kingdom Hall, but I went to the gravesite and they asked me if I'd give a talk. And at the time, my understanding was that if someone died before Armageddon, that they could come back, they'd have a second chance. So that's the way that I looked at it. And many people around the country did too, that they actually thought, now I never saw this in a publication written, but that's what we had in our minds. I thought that my mother-in-law, well, she'll be back and she'll have a second chance. No, they're making it very clear that if they died before Armageddon and they didn't want to be one of Jehovah's Witnesses, they would be dead. So is this new light? Well, I couldn't find, I tried to find in older publications where they kind of had a different thought on this, but they didn't. So what they're talking about today, it's not really new light, but I'm going to tell you what, they're really saying it bluntly this time around. And that's what I see. There's no, what they're doing here is they're really letting people know, listen, and I know who they're going after. They're going after the PMOs. That's who they're going after. They know there's a lot of people that are just, secretly not wanting to be a Jehovah's Witness. And they're going after all of them. But, also, how could you say, all of us went out in service, right? I mean, you remember knocking on doors all over the neighborhood. And, I remember once I was out in service with a sister. And there was an Awake magazine, and this had to be back in probably the late 70s. And the Awake magazine had an article all about Patagonian sweaters. I mean, that's an article they had in the Awake magazine. So I remember the sister, we knocked on the door and a woman came. I want to let you know I'm one of Jehovah's Witnesses and I have a message to share with you from the Awake magazine. It's how beautiful Patagonian sweaters are. I was embarrassed. I was embarrassed that the sister brought this up. I almost, fell on the ground. And so I'm thinking with this new understanding, if it's even, it's a blunter understanding, maybe not new, but this blunter understanding. So if a person rejected your message at the door, they don't want to be one of Jehovah's Witnesses. They're a dead duck come Armageddon because she didn't want to take in a magazine on Patagonian sweaters. I mean, come on, let's get real. So the idea that if you die before Armageddon, you are guaranteed a resurrection. That's what I used to think. That's gone. No more. You die before Armageddon, you weren't a witness, you're gone. You're not coming back. So I'm seeing that, the Watchtower is going to really ramp this thought up. They got a lot of witnesses upset. From what I understand, the Jehovah's Witnesses who kind of thought some of their relatives that are beating around the bush and they had the message. And now they're realizing that their relatives that they thought might, maybe they're on death row. And even many witnesses were hoping some of their relatives and friends would die before Armageddon so they have an opportunity to come back. But no, that's gone. I'm telling you what, this is going to send anxiety. This is going to create panic attacks for many Jehovah's Witnesses. But they do have, they added a caveat to this teaching. They're making it really known that there's no chance of having a resurrection unless you were studying or at least believing in Jehovah's Witnesses. Isn't that something? They're putting it very bluntly. It's a lot more blunt. So that's what I say concerning this. But that's why we're seeing such a a period of serious decline right now. A lot of witnesses are not going along with a lot of this really harsh, we are witnesses and we're against the world type attitude, an us versus them attitude. Many Jehovah's Witnesses are picking up on it. So, this cult, they have lost significant amounts of members several times in their history. And, I'm just thinking, and they always recovered. They always recovered. If you go way back to 1925, right around the Rutherford era in the mid-20s, when he came in, around 1920 is when he came in, from what I understand. But a lot of the witnesses, the time they were known as Russellites or Bible students, they got up and packed their bags. 125,000 Russellites, Watchtower people left in 1925. And then in the year 1975, the Watchtower lost 250,000 people. Yes, because Armageddon didn't come in 1975. So what's the point I'm trying to make? Well, in both of those years, 1925 and 1975, they regained more witnesses after these dreaded events that never really came true. So, yes, so they actually made more witnesses afterwards. But now the witness world is in a period of serious decline. They can't make any blunders at all. So even an article like this is really scaring the living daylights out of many witnesses, because listen, at least they had some hope before for their son, for their daughter, for their father, for their mother. But now the Watchtower is making it very clear, don't count on them coming back. If they don't want Jehovah now, forget about it. So there you have it. There you have it. So all you PMOs, faders, unbaptized ones, disfellowship ones, I'm going to put it to you bluntly. You're not going to be resurrected. You're not going to be resurrected if you die. This is sick, right? Isn't it sick that you have a Christian?
Hey,
yes. Go ahead.
I just spent time yesterday all day at the Memorial Park, and the real truth is they charge you per word on the tombstone. That's the real truth, folks.
Oh, yeah, that is the truth, Pixie. Was that you, Anne-Marie? Who's that other lady out there? Go ahead. You're with us. Go ahead.
It's Sheila.
Go ahead. Who's this? Go ahead. Who's this?
Hello, Rick.
Hold on. We got a lady on here that's coming through. Go ahead. Who is this? Speak up.
It's Sheila.
Oh, Sheila. Go ahead, Sheila.
Hey, I just want to give it a perspective that is just extremely heartbreaking because, I come from a long line, we talked last week, of the extreme indoctrinated or brainwashed. And, just to share an experience, I went to visit my dad, who is an extreme elder, in a small town, not educated, so on and so forth. I'm the baby of 6, born in, raised in, lots of chaos. However, I couldn't figure out why my dad would not have anything to do with my 2-year-old child. It was heartbreaking because, it was a lot of, you have to put yourself together. I want my dad to meet my child or whatever. And he wouldn't touch him. He wouldn't have anything to do with him. And I prayed and I'm like, Lord, why? I mean, you've got this innocent child. And the perspective that I got was, would you want to embrace or love someone that you are having to picture picking up their dead bones? What this article is doing is actually bringing shunning to its extreme demonic power. I mean, in other words, any love that you have left for anybody else out there, whether it's family, friends, whatever, anybody that questions or whatever, I can't look at you because when I picture you, this is psychological warfare. And, it was just one perspective. And so every time I woke, I was there, my car ended up breaking down, had to be there. for like 3 days trying to figure out what's wrong with my car. And I kept picking up my son and putting it in Daddy's lap. And Daddy finally hugged him. And it was an amazing moment. And unfortunately, I have another son. My dad's actually seen my kids maybe 3 times, because I'm not going to allow that kind of stuff in my house. Or I'm not going to allow that kind of stuff to affect my children, because I know the devastation being number 6. It's heartbreaking. And, I don't have a question. I don't have anything else other than the grace and mercy I have for my dad, how much he's missed out of because of the brainwashing. That's all I have to say.
Well, thank you, Sheila. No, I see it's emotional. It can hurt. Thank you, Sheila, for calling. Yeah, go ahead, sir.
Yeah, Scott. I just wanted to say, man, I've been, 20 years as a witness, and I agree with you wholeheartedly that they made it abundantly clear that the wages of sin is death. So when a person has died, he's paid for his sin, and he has that opportunity to be resurrected. I always believed that. I always knew that. And I even, like you, I knew an elder in a congregation up in Chelmsford, and the father never wanted to study or get involved with witnesses, even though he was very well liked. Came to all the congregation picnics and parties. Everybody loved him. He was a great guy. But he basically said, it's not going to happen in my lifetime, so why should I bother? So he was basically throwing the dice. He was a gambler, and he's basically saying, well, I'm betting on the fact it's never going to happen, and if it does, then I'll get resurrected. So he even had a hope for the future. But now I'm not so sure, based on what you're telling me. He had plenty of exposure to the truth and just rejected it out of hand. And my wife, same thing. She had a lot of doubts at the end. So where does that put her? And so many other witnesses that I've known over the years. So yeah, I think this is pretty despicable. I think it goes back to the whole thing where you can never seem to be able to do what you need for salvation. Okay, it's basically you're striving, and you're never good enough. They keep you thinking you're never good enough, and you only live second to second. So what about some witness who's had doubts at the end, maybe left the truth, but yet had a whole lifetime of service, of pioneering and building kingdom halls? I've known brothers like that they've worked their tails off for the organization, but now they don't have anything to do with it. So it's just all that forgotten? Is it all water under the bridge as far as they're concerned? I guess so, based on that article.
Wow, you said a mouthful, and I mean, really, Scott. I mean, you're from my neck of the woods, but that's what I always knew too. Now I couldn't find it in print, but it was the witnesses in my neck of the woods. They always thought, well, if a person dies before Armageddon, they have a chance of coming back. I mean, they're making it clear now that's not true. That's not true, and you can see why.
Hey there, Rick.
Yeah, you go ahead. Go ahead, Braden.
Oh. Yeah, I was just gonna say this news actually, this new light is very, very shocking. Just like the previous caller said, my impression was just like he mentioned. The wage sin pays is death, so you'd automatically get a resurrection, and it's almost like this new light now is being used. Is kind of like an anchor to keep you even closer, because lost my thought there for a moment, but I guess I was just going to say it's like an abusive relationship, except it's getting more abusive, and it's kind of despicable.
Well, it is. It is, Braden. No, they're dealing right now. The Watchtower is dealing with their last cards. They are showing signs of desperation. Their ship is going down. This is an attempt. This Watchtower study article, May 2022, this is an attempt to stem the bleeding. They are bleeding. They are hemorrhaging. People are leaving. They don't want people to feel that, when you have a chance if you die, or your relatives might even have a chance if they die. They want you to get out and talk to that relative and do everything you can other than beat him on the head to become a Jehovah's Witness. So he'll be in paradise earth. They're scaring the Pimos to death. Pimis to death.
Personally, whoever was doing the research on that new light, I hope Dopey wasn't, drinking a little bit of liquor and, decided to have a different opinion on it.
Yeah.
Yeah, hello?
Yeah, go ahead. Go ahead, Kurt.
Yeah, I'll make this real brief. You've done an excellent job explaining that part of the article, and I listened to it very closely. I just want to mention, just real briefly, I do not agree with the Watchtower's view on this, and tell you something you surely already know. Russell did not have that view. He believed in the resurrection of everyone, and of course all of that's debatable, but he went quite deeply into it. And Paul mentioned that he had a hope for a resurrection of the righteous and the unrighteous. So anyway, Paul himself and Russell and others were not nearly as alarming with the teaching of the Watchtower here. But you've done a really good job there, Rick, and I just wanted to chime in there before you moved on. Okay, thanks.
Well, thank you, Kurt.
Hello, Rick.
Yes, hello.
Hi, this is Jim Hill in Seattle, Washington.
Hello, Jim.
How you doing?
Good.
You may not know this, but I consider myself a minor prophet. And thought that came to me as I was listening to you discussing this new light is that probably the next step will be that soon the Watchtower will announce that suicides will not be eligible for a resurrection because too many witnesses have found that to be the easy out instead of bearing up under the day-to-day pressures of life. They could just extinguish themselves and wait for the resurrection. But the Watchtower might explain that that shows ultimate contempt for the gift of life that they were given. I also, regarding your earlier comments about the nonsense that went on about the use of blood in various products, I remember in New York, it was going around that a lot of chocolate products had blood in them because one of the ingredients in chocolate was lecithin, which is a natural emulsifier, which is found in the blood, but no food processor in their right mind would pour blood into chocolate because of the expense involved and because of the effect that would have on sales. Also, I think a lot of the confusion regarding blood in wine resulted because of a misunderstanding of the meaning of the word sangria, confusing it with sangre, which of course is blood. But sangria is not blood. It's wine and fruit juice.
Wow, very good.
Thanks for your...
Well, thank you. I just learned something from you, Jim. No, I never knew that with sangria. So that's where they got that from. Yeah, okay, good. Thank you for sharing that.
Okay,
Hello?
take care.
Go ahead, you with us? Go ahead, sister. Okay, having some trouble with that sister trying to come in. Go ahead, you're on with us. Give one more shot. Well, anyways, keep trying. But anyways, what I'm thinking here, this is going to have an awful effect on families. That this is going to really... Now, let's suppose you're a Jehovah's Witness parent or grandparent. Now what you're going to do is you're really going to pressure those faded relatives or disfellowship children and grandchildren. You're really going to be laying guilt on them to come back before the big A. This is going to have an awful effect on families that had an inkling of hope, families that were thinking, well, my son, he's a drug addict and he's not healthy and He's probably going to die before Armageddon, but he'll come back. He'll be coming back in the resurrection. Not so fast. Not so fast. So I thought that was quite fascinating, but it was the biggest buzz this week. And you know, one other thing, I'm just going to come from a Christian perspective here. You know, I'm a Christian man. I'm not preaching to you, but this is not even biblical. This is not biblical. Jesus is the one that will be doing the judgment. Now, everyone, look at friends. I'm gonna share a fact with you. We're all going to die. I know that sounds like fatalism or fatalistic, right? But I'm not saying it in that way. I'm just giving you a fact. We're all going to die. Hebrews, it says that it's appointed that we all die once. But now here's what happens. We all die, but we're all going to come back and we're going to appear before the great judge. And we're going to be judged on our merits and what we do. We're going to have due process. This idea of, no, you're not coming back, that's childish. That's not even biblical. The Bible says that you're coming back. And even if you were a very unrighteous person, you're going to come back and you'll appear, at least my Christian thinking, my Christian teachings teach me that you're going to come back and you're going to appear before the white throne judgment, and you'll have due process. The power at hand, Jesus, he'll be able to do the judging, not the Watchtower. So I thought I'd throw that in. So it's not even biblical. So I want to share that with you.
Thank you so much for that heavenly hope, Rick, and the white throne judgment story, because to be in a huge, well-kept cemetery yesterday was very difficult. The message that we're all going to die was very clear, whether we're Christian, Buddhist, or whatever. And it's hard, and it was very expensive to pay just to put the name and birth and death dates. And it really, really is very zen, and I think we should live it up with the time we've got here. But yes, thank you for repeating the possibility of a heavenly hope.
Well, there you go, Pixie. All right, so listen, I'm going to put, you know, one thing too. Now, friends, we got a big night here on the 6 Screens. We got a really, as Ed Sullivan would say, a really big show. We got a number of programs coming up tonight you're going to love. We're going to have Angela and Dan Clark. They're going to be coming on here in about, probably about 15, 20 minutes. And, you know, they did a road trip. They live way up in Idaho, and they did a road trip all the way down to Florida and Tennessee and all down through there. And they visited a number of Jehovah's ex-witnesses, on the way down. And they're going to share their story with us coming up. But also, remember Michael? Well, he's appeared on their program, Heart to Heart, and he talked about how wicked the Jehovah's Witnesses were treating him, to the point of actually even telling his wife and children to have nothing to do with him. He's the father and the husband. But yet that's how heinous and evil the Watchtower was. And Michael died. We all know that. It was reported a few weeks back on Angela and Dan's show. So they're going to talk, but they're going to tell you tonight how Michael died. That was never shared with anybody. So they're going to tell you tonight how Michael died. So stay tuned. They're coming up here next. They'll be up in about 15, 20 minutes. Also, don't you go anywhere. If you got to even leave the 6 Screens JW World News a little early to go to the bathroom and get a cold drink and walk out to the mailbox, do it. But be back for the big picture. The big picture with Jimmy Bell. He's coming up tonight at 9 o'clock. Boy, I'll tell you the stuff he's going to be talking about tonight. He's accusing the Watchtower. He is actually pinpointing them as being part of the New World Order, the great reset that's on the horizon. You've been hearing about it. It's all about the Watchtower tonight and how they are fitting in to the New World Order. And then at 11 o'clock, my goodness, what a night of showtime here on the 6 Screens. And it's all going to be on YouTube. Every program we have on here tonight is on YouTube. So you want to watch After the Storm. Gail and DeLon, they are coming on tonight, and they have got a comedian, an ex-Jehovah's Witness comedian who has gone to the big time. Jay Scott. Many of you people probably heard about him. He's on YouTube, and he's really making a name for himself. Jay Scott, ex-witness. He'll be coming on tonight. He'll be sharing some jokes with us in the 11 o'clock hour. And then at around midnight tonight, 12:30, somewhere in there, we have Aposta Babe. Aposta Babe will be coming on, and she's going to do a program. She burns the midnight oil every Saturday night. Linda James from Southern California. So she'll be on with us. All right, let's take a look. I'm going to put a picture up. I'm going to put a couple of pictures up. I want you to know that the Watchtower organization is not your grandfather's organization. This is a brand new organization, and they're showing pictures, and I'm going to put a couple of pictures up here. They're showing pictures of Paradise Earth. Now, you guys all remember, many of you are old enough to remember you studied the Orange Paradise book, right? I studied that too. And they had pictures in there of the lions and the tigers and all the wild animals and how we would play with them. And there were snakes and kangaroos and everything you could think of. And also, we're now finding, and remember that brochure we had too? We used to give out, it was a little pamphlet, really, but it had pictures of panda bears and tigers, and there was a little curly-haired witness girl in the New World, and she was sitting next patting a lion. Remember that? I think you got that imagery, right? Well, they're doing away with that. They're not showing lions and tigers and kangaroos anymore. They're not. I'm going to put a picture up right now. If you're on the 6 screens, you'll see it. If you're on, the YouTube, let's put the picture up. This is their picture of Paradise today. Well, there it is. Now, what do you see there in the picture? Sorry, you guys on the, well, maybe I could put it up. If you guys, I'm going to try to, well, it's okay. Just let it go. But it's a picture I'll explain to you guys that are on our radio network on the 6 screen suite that can't see it. Well, what you're looking at here is, well, a bunch of happy little children and two Jehovah's Witness men. And we see some cows and horses and a dog. We don't see any lions. I don't see any panda bears. I don't see any tigers. What's up with this? Yeah. And then I got another picture I want to show you. So here we go. Whoa, look at this picture here. This is a picture of Paradise Earth. And there we have a man walking down the sidewalk. And they look like, they're dressed in just casual clothes. I don't know who's going to be making the clothes in the new system. But look at this man here. This is very unusual. I don't see any tigers. I don't see any lions. I see a dog. Now, the dog, he's on a leash. So I guess you'll be, what are they afraid of in the new world? Why is the dog on a leash? These are strange. Friends, the Watchtower is changing. This is not the way. These are pictures. These are the pictures right from their newest publications. These do not look like the pictures that you and I grew up with. Now, why is that? Why do you think the Watchtower is putting these more realistic, let's go with that, more realistic pictures? Maybe people were saying enough is enough, Watchtower. Come on, let's come up to speed here. Let's be realistic. But, it seems like they're heading in that direction, or they're trying to reach a whole new crowd. Could that be the case? Well, those pictures work for us, right? We studied those books with those pictures. It worked for us. Hey, listen, I'm going to tell you, somebody's in the marketing department in Watchtower. They're changing everything. They are rebranding big time. The old Watchtower is not working. They're not going to work with the same old pictures. They're not. They're not going to work with a little curly-haired girl petting a lion. They're going to have a preppy man walking down the sidewalk with a dog on a leash. More people, I guess, are going to connect with that than a little girl petting a lion. So things are changing, but I wanted to bring that to your attention. Is there anybody out there? You guys are smart. In fact, a lot of people tell me, they say, Rick, you got an awful smart audience. The 6 screens callers. They're very smart. I've heard that on a number of occasions. So I know I've got some smart people out there listening in. So why do you think, now stop and think about it. Why do you think the Watchtower is changing these pictures? They're getting away from all of these fluffy, puffy, cartoon-looking things with lions and tigers and bears and all of that. Why are they going with these more preppy, up-to-date pictures? Any thoughts on that at all? I'd just like to get your thoughts. Any of you guys into graphics, or any of you guys think about why
Well,
they?
that was that picture I saw in the big city restaurants that are very modern. The New World Order has got this modern space age thing coming, and it's not fluffy.
Well, there you go. That's well, the Pixie. You got me thinking. Yeah, Jimmy's going to be talking about this tonight. Yeah, the Watchtower is involved in the New World Order, and they got to go along with all of this modern representation. Yeah, we have someone else. Go ahead, someone else.
And Rick, it goes with the slave class. What's part of this New World Order and the reset is, the middle class is going to go away, and so what they've got to do is they have to make the, basically the people, look like we're slaves, in a nice kind of way. If you go back in time, like you were talking about, I was in the generation that, I saw the pictures and saw all of the books and, and every child, wanted to be part of that because, children love animals. And that kind of, that part of you doesn't leave psychologically. However, now we've got to chain up our dogs. Now we've got to be put in a house. Now we've got to live in a city. It's kind of like I'm in the apartment industry, and I was watching this thing. The apartment industry calls apartments units. And then if you look at the new painting selection of all of these big realtors, it's like you're driving by all of these apartment communities that they're painting, and it looks like a federal prison. It's all part of the plan. It's psychological. That's all I'm going to say. Thanks.
Well, thank you, Sheila. But, right. I mean, what you see a lot of today, it's very contemporary, is people walking their dogs on a leash. So I come across this article, well, actually it's an illustration, a picture in one of the publications from Watchtower. And there it shows the man walking down the sidewalk in the new system with his dog on a leash. I mean, what are they afraid of? I mean, I guess they got to be careful even in the new system. I mean, maybe if you let your dog wander without a leash, maybe he might get run over by one of those celestial chariots or something. But I mean, why is he got a leash? But that's because it's contemporary. People can relate to that. Oh, I'll tell you. Yeah, go ahead.
Yeah, Rick. This is Rick from Central Florida.
Yeah, who's this?
How you been?
I'm doing good.
Rick from Central Florida.
Well, Rick, always good to talk to you. I mean, you've been on here before, right?
Yeah, oh yeah.
Oh yeah, no, I remember. Yeah, no, I got you. We had a number of Ricks, but I got you now, Central Florida. Go ahead, yeah.
Yeah, I just want to know, where's the pictures, if they're going to be truthful, like they're a truthful organization, where's the pictures that have the 8 billion dead people laying around, They never do that. And if they're going to be honest about it, that should be part of the landscape also.
Well, you would think so.
Scriptures, right?
You'd think so, yeah.
Yeah. So, it's just all idealistic, pictures to appeal to people. It's not truth. It's not reality. If it were, again, you'd have 8 billion dead people laying around with the birds eating them, like it says in the Gospels.
Right. But we don't see those pictures. We don't see those pictures, Rick. So,
no, and as we know, the Watchtower's gotten very good at hiding things.
Oh, yeah. Very good. Very good at hiding things. Well, always good to hear from you, Rick. Thank you for chiming in with us tonight. Don't be a stranger. You come back and see us soon.
Thank you for having me on, Rick.
Well, thank you. Thank you, Rick. In fact, I'll tell you what.
Hello, Rick.
Yes, Constance.
Hi, Rick. I'm sorry, I didn't mean to interrupt you. I just wanted to pop in briefly. I was going to say, I think what's happening, artwork is pictures are very powerful. Even just media, I don't care if it's television, movies, or whatever, it's very powerful, artwork is. And, Rick, I think Watchtower's trying to focus in on their marketing for the generation after 75. For those of us that have lived through 75, Rick, those kids, they'd be like in their 40s today. They have no clue what we went through and what we saw and what we were taught in the organization. And they actually think it's a lie. They think 75 was a big lie, that we just sort of all made it up, that Watchtower never taught that. But I think, Rick, that's what they're doing. It's their marketing tool for the post-1975 generation with all their pictures and illustrations.
You saw that video that they put out, right, about how it's the other way around. It was just a few overly zealous brothers, quote, in California that, were talking about how that was going to be the end of the age and everything, but it wasn't really us. And, I'd seen the clips. I mean, I was there then, and in Yankee Stadium, I saw the talks that they were giving about, 75 is the end, stay alive to 75.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah, well, we all lived through it. Yeah, we lived through it, for sure.
Yeah.
Thank you, Rick.
Well, thank you, Constance. I always enjoy your comments. Thank you, Rick. So, the thing is, they're doing everything now. And then even I get information was sent from a sister. And, she's saying that the organization is beginning to even prohibit more things than they used to. They're getting really more picky. Yeah, they're getting more picky. I mean, they used to pick on a lot of things, mini dresses and what have you. But now they're getting really picky. They're prohibiting a lot of things that they one time went with. For example, some information coming into the 6 screens here. They're now picking on people who are taking more times off on vacation. With COVID and what have you, a lot of people took off and wanted to travel a little bit. They didn't have to work. And now with remote working, people can go to the lake. They can go to they can camp and they can do their work. But the witnesses don't like that because they're away from the Kingdom Hall. So they're now taking and picking on people for taking more vacation time than they can. Well, what's wrong with that? And then one poor sister, she was telling me she got reprimanded because, it was very hot in the summer. And she said she had the bare shoulders showing. And it wasn't even at the Kingdom Hall. But someone took note of it, evidently. I don't believe it was at the hall. The way it's written here, it didn't seem to be. But someone took note of her bare shoulders and, tattled on the elders. And so she had to make sure that her shoulders weren't showing. I mean, at what point? You guys have got to agree with me. Many Jehovah's Witnesses, there's nothing wrong with a woman's shoulders. It's hot out. So the woman wants to have her shoulders showing. What in goodness name's sake is wrong with that? But no. That this might attract somebody from the opposite sex, that they might try to do something shameful or sexual. That is ridiculous. Why does the Jehovah's Witnesses have to think that way? But they do. They have to make a sex crime out of everything. Yeah. It's crazy.
Well, the thing about the vacations is that they're discouraging them because they have access to the outside world. You have to look at the definition of a cult. And, that's the one reason why they started building the convention centers. There's one up here in Denton that I pass when I go visit a friend. And, they had to build those convention centers because what was happening with the assemblies as you went out, you got access to the outside world, and God forbid you get any other information than what they're giving you. It's all part of the brainwashing. So don't go on vacation.
Yeah.
Don't enjoy anything because and the interesting thing and the perspective here is that they fear the truth more than the truth. I mean, do you understand? They say they're the truth, but they fear people finding out the truth. So now they've got to put in more propaganda.
Oh, yeah.
More restrictions.
Well, you're absolutely right, Sheila. You're absolutely, and I'll tell you some other things too. People are writing me and telling me they're really getting really picky. Yeah, really, really picky. Well, one man told me that he has a very competitive spirit. And when he plays basketball and volleyball, he plays to win. I mean, isn't that what you play a game for? What do you play a game to lose? No, you play a game to win. But he's saying that he's now getting
natural response.
yeah, he's now getting in trouble because he has this competitive spirit. And they're saying that is not behavior of one of Jehovah's Witnesses. Well, what is the matter? I mean, come on. This is nutty. And also another person was saying that they're getting all over his case because he bought an expensive car, a nice expensive car. Well, what is, if he had the money to buy an expensive car, well, let him buy a car. Well, what do they want him driving, an old jalopy? Geez, if he went out and bought a new Tesla or something, so be it. But they're on his case. Well, you know, you really have to think about it. You have to be practical. And then they use this scripture too about
figure out how much their scotch costs.
well, they said to the brother that, you know, you drive a car like that, you're making a showy display. You know, you're really showing off. Do you think everybody that buys a nice car is showing off? I think people like a nice car. They want something dependable. So the Watchtower is discouraging you from that. You know, this organization, they got, I'm telling you, their elevator doesn't go all the way to the top. You would think that they would encourage. You think that they would encourage.
Hello?
Yes, go ahead.
I was just curious to know as to what kind of car their lawyers drive, or what kind of car their marketing executives drive.
Oh yeah, well, Mary, I don't know if it's Mary or not. I think it's Eunice. I'm not sure who is on the line here, but anyways, I think, and no, not a matter of think. I know. Well, I'll tell you what kind of car Tony Morris was driving when he went out to buy that expensive Scotch whiskey in New York State. He was driving a Cadillac. I mean, so that
Jeffrey Jackson drives a Bentley.
Yeah, and also Jeffrey Jackson has an $80,000 Dodge Demon, Dick. You know, at least he did a couple of years ago. So you know they drive expensive cars, but they're telling this brother that gave me the information that your car is too expensive and you're making a showy display. I mean, if it's a Lamborghini or something, I can see it, but it wasn't a Lamborghini. I'm not sure what kind of car it was, but. And then, Dick, what did they tell you when you wanted to have a nice car? What they tell you back in the 80s?
Yeah, I bought a Trans Am, actually. It's a Firebird, 1985. And one of the brothers come up to me and said, you know, you really, if you can afford a new car, you should be afforded to offer service. That's not a good family car, and that's not a good car for service.
Yeah. I mean, how did we ever even feel good about being a witness? I guess we did. Our minds were under control. Yeah, go ahead, Sheila.
It's the slave effect.
Oh, Rick?
You're a slave.
Yeah.
And you don't deserve anything that you've ever worked for. You have to give it all to me.
That's it. That's it, Sheila. I'm with you. Conscience, what are you going to say?
Well, I was going to say, you know, it makes me want to puke, Rick, because, you know, they want to control absolutely everything, like you've always said, from the cradle to the grave, you know, and they take the joy out of just everyday life. You know, people work their asses off, especially, I'm telling you, here in California, okay? And the thing is, because everything is so expensive, not to say that people don't in other states as well, but, you know, people need to have a balance, Rick, you know, between working really hard and having family time, or just, if you're single, just time to yourself. You know, Watchtower has to keep tightening those screws and just taking the absolute joy out of everybody's life, because you're nothing more than just a drone for that cult. And, you know, Rick, that's the other thing. I'm telling you, hypocrisy is something that makes my blood boil. It's okay if the governing body members have the demon, or the Bentley. You know, those cars are very expensive. What, $250,000, $350,000?
Well, they
each?
yeah, 250.
Yeah, is it, Rick?
Yeah.
But God forbid somebody wants to have a nice car, whether it's a Trans Am or a Tesla. You know, Rick, it's none of their darn business in the first place. They need to just keep their nose out of everybody's business. They really do. So that's my 2 cents.
Well,
Thank you,
well,
Rick.
that's 2 cents.
Rick, I thought they wanted everybody to have a 4-door car. I mean, you know, these expensive cars, don't they have 4 doors? Wasn't that the main thing?
Well, they want.
told back in the day when I was growing up, you needed 4 doors for the service.
Yeah, well, that's what they wanted you to have. That's why they're getting on Dick Borghi's case. He had the Trans Am only has 2 doors. They wanted him to have a 4-door car. Really?
Right. I remember that back in the day, they were talking about, the 2-door cars, no 4-door for service, like every minute of your life is, you know, thinking of field service. No matter what job the brother or sister had, they have to think when they purchase a car for their family, it has to have 4 doors. And there are many luxury cars that have 4 doors. So I don't understand what all this blowback is from society. If it's a Tesla, a Benz or whatever, they have 4 doors. If it has 4 doors, what's the problem? Right?
Well,
service, you know, 4 doors.
Yeah. I do.
What was their problem? What was their problem?
Big problem. Yes, big problem. They always have a problem with everything. Shirley. Yes. All right, friends. If you're on the 6 Screens video suite, my computer just shut down, so I don't know if you can hear or not. I think you can, but just stay with us, and we'll get back up to speed here. So stay with us if you're on the suite. Don't go anywhere. My computer just crashed on me, so we'll have to kind of wing it on there for now. Angela and Dan Clark, you guys on with me? Angela and Dan Clark. Are you guys on with me? Angela and Dan Clark. Well, they were going to come on. I'm not sure where they are. I'm not sure. We had them all scheduled to come on, and I see that they're not here with us, but we'll do our best to try to get them on. In the meantime, I'm going to play you.
Hello?
Yes.
Hello?
Yes, go ahead.
Hi, Rick. Hi.
Yes.
Hi, Rick. Hi, it's Michelle from Milwaukee.
Yes.
Can you hear me?
Yes, I can. Yep.
How you doing? I know a lot of people are trying to talk, but I just wanted to clarify. Could you tell me what this new light was about? I think I heard the tail end of it, but
yeah. Well, I'll be very quick with it. Basically, what they're saying, Rochelle. I don't know what you used to think about people who died before Armageddon. At least in this neck of the woods, if a person died and, you know, they weren't one of Jehovah's Witnesses, maybe like your son or your father never was a witness, and you always had hope if he died, he'd come back in the new system, he'd be resurrected. But that no longer is the case. And anyone prior to, well, anyone right now that is not listening to the Jehovah's Witness message, and they refuse to want to become a witness, there's no chance of a resurrection. That's the newest. Yeah.
Who did that come from? A governing body member?
It came from the Awake magazine. May. In fact, in Watchtower magazine.
Hey there, Rick.
Watchtower magazine. Hello, Dan. So you're on with us. Good. All right. So we're gonna get you. We're gonna get you rolling. Yeah. So you. I sent you a link, but don't worry about coming on YouTube. Our time is cut short here.
Okay.
But anyways, what I'm gonna. In fact, unless you get the link handy right now.
You actually have to get an email address, and it's not a link.
It's okay, Rick. We can just talk if you want.
All right.
If you want to show some pictures.
Oh, yeah, we'll show some pictures, and then we'll be able to get you guys talking a little bit about what happened to you guys in the last couple of weeks here. So we're real dying to hear it. This is Dan and Angela Clark. They've had a program here on the 6 Screens called Heart to Heart, and they made a trip. Well, let them explain it. Go ahead, Dan and Angela. Tell us what you guys did in the last few weeks.
Well, we decided to take a little break, Rick, and we went actually almost coast to coast. We went from Boise, Idaho, all the way down to Florida, Orlando, and lots of stops in between, lots of stops. We stopped off and saw a lot of the brothers. We saw Jeff Boulay, Debbie Moore. We saw Debbie Moore first, and that was really nice, just visiting, sharing the love there. Had a nice time, stayed, I think, about an hour. Was it an hour and a half?
Yeah, and we just had a really nice time. Really nice person, really beautiful heart. Her daughter was there. It really felt good. I don't know what it is, but when you see these witnesses outside the Kingdom Hall, they're not loaded with judgment. They're not asking you what you believe or how many magazines. It's like refreshing. So when we saw Debbie, she was grinning ear to ear, and it was just beautiful. It was something to see, wasn't it, Angela?
Yes, it was.
And so then on our next part of the trip, we stopped and saw Jeff Boulay, and
where's he at, Dan?
he's in Iowa. And if anybody's listening, he's looking to start a group out there. A lot of these witnesses a meetup, because a lot of these witnesses are pretty lonesome. And I have been lonesome before and been in areas where, it's just you when you're kicked out, when you're out of the organization and they brand you and they throw you away. I mean, you're out there by yourself. But I got to tell you, there is a lot of people out there waiting to meet people. And the minute we told people we were going to Florida, people were like, hey, will you meet me? Will you meet me along the way? Will you meet me along the way? And we're like, yeah, sure. And so guys, what happened was we got to Jeff Boulay, and he says, hey, you're going to meet me over at the pizza shop. And I'm like, all right, Pizza King. Get a little
Yeah, that's okay. I'm just rebooting my computer here, Dan. Go ahead. Keep talking.
Okay. Do you want me to just keep talking all the way through?
Yeah, just talking. I'm going to play some clips. Go ahead to keep talking, and then I'll play some clips. Yep.
Okay, so we went down. We ended up going down to Jeff Boulay's next, and I'll tell you, the hospitality from the witnesses will blow your mind. So we go to this pizza shop, Pizza King, right? Pizza King, and I'm like, wow, that's an interesting place, So we went in there, and I'm telling you, it's like a 5-star restaurant. And Jeff bought us a steak that I've never had a steak this big or this good in my life.
Iowa has real good beef.
Oh my God.
It was great.
And Jeff says, no, you get that one. I'm like, no, I don't want to get that one. The prices were good, but it was some of the best food I've ever eaten in my life. And
he insisted on buying Dan the very best, is what Dan's trying to say.
Yeah, and he says, hey, I'm going to get you a hotel. And we're like, no, you don't have to do that. But this is the generosity of the brothers and the non-judgment. And I just couldn't believe it. I was blown away. We had some tears when we left there, and we hugged each other and, took some pictures together. And, and then we went from there to Georgia, and we were visiting some people there, spent a couple days in Atlanta, Georgia. And then we went down and visited my daughter down in Daytona Beach.
Right.
And spent a few days with her. And then we went up to, where was it, Orlando?
Yeah, Daytona Beach down to Orlando to see somebody. Right?
Yeah, we went down there to see Paul and his wife. And no, actually, we went to see Elaine. I don't know if you know her. She has that JW Escape, I believe.
Yeah, JW Escape. Yep.
Yeah, we visited her and her was it boyfriend or husband?
Boyfriend.
Her boyfriend, and I'll tell you, so wonderful, so kind, so. I told her, I said, Elaine, I promised you a video. We're going to do a video. She puts up her tripod, and we did one.
Then she just dug it out, and we're doing a video.
She puts up her telescope and says, we're doing one right here. And I'm like, oh my God. But it was the same thing. It was hugs and love and
pay for a meal.
Yeah. I'm like, you guys, you don't have to pay for a meal. They go, no, you're not driving out here and paying for your meal. Healthy. I'm telling you. Everybody, all the way back, Debbie Moore, all the way up, healthy, whole, sound in mind, totally recovered, beautiful people. Oh, and activism. I mean, it goes on, guys. And then we met another group in Orlando. They're like, will you stop off and see us? Some guy saw us on YouTube. Now, I got to tell you guys, listen to this real careful. This is really cool. But we went down there and we met at a barbecue place. Same thing, we're going to buy you guys dinner. No. It was crazy. But again, everybody was happy. Everybody was glowing. Everybody was shining. Everybody was, they weren't under the guilt. They had boyfriends and wives, and Paul had a wonderful, beautiful wife. And then this other gal, I forget their name, but they were all trying to come, and then people were writing in saying, oh my God, I wish I could have been there. I lived right over here. And I tell you guys, we got a huge, huge family out there. And they can't wait to see us. They can't wait to touch us and say, did you make it through? Yeah, we made it through, but I'll tell you what, these guys that we met, they were prospering, they were doing good, they were happy, they were light, and I was just blown away. Weren't you, Angela?
Yes, I really, really was. You know, I know Jeff is missing very badly Michael because they were friends, and that was painful.
Yeah, what I'm going to
that's a big loss.
What I'm going to do, Angela, I'm going to play. I'm going to have you talk about Michael, but I do have a clip. I have a sound clip of Michael when he was on your program back in February. I got a little clip. I want the audience to hear the clip. And this is Michael. He's no longer with us. And Dan and Angela were going to see him, but of course he died. And they're going to tell you a little bit about him. Let me play the clip here a little bit. And then I want you to hear what Michael had to say. So let's start it. Let me just roll it back here a little bit. This is Michael talking. So let's hear what Michael had to say and why he's not with us anymore. He was so disturbed by the Watchtower. This was on Angela and Dan Clark's program on February 2nd, 2022. Listen in.
Let me say that. And so that has started really my waking up process, because there were a lot of things that I witnessed and observed as an elder that I couldn't stand it. I couldn't deal with it. I never could give enough. Totally devoted to my family, working 70, 80 hours a week and trying to be a good elder, trying to do everything the right way. And it never was enough. And so once I started to question the governing body and the teaching that the governing body is my mediator instead of Jesus Christ, that really started to turn me sour toward the organization. And since our interview, the elders have harassed my wife. Well, I won't say harassed her. They have talked to her and approached her and tried to turn her against me. My daughter, my oldest daughter, who's 18, elder and his wife approached her at her place of employment. And the elder took my daughter aside. Of course, the wife could still hear. I did not know this had happened. Let me say this at first. For 3 days, my daughter wouldn't speak to me. And I did not know if she was having a personal issue, what was going on, but she was different. And so finally, I went into her bedroom and I said, honey, tell me what's going on. I'm your daddy, I love you. And she said, Daddy, brother so-and-so, and I'm not going to use his name for legal reasons. Yeah. She said they came into where I worked, and she said his wife was standing there listening. But he told me you were a mentally diseased apostate, and that they were worried about our well-being. And I said, I said, when did he say this? She said, Friday night. Instantly, Dan, I was ready to fight. And he told my daughter that if I didn't change my ways, and if I hadn't went too far already, that she and her brothers and sisters, and my wife and my family would watch the buzzards picking my eyeballs out at Armageddon.
Well, what do you think of that? That is just sick. So tell us about Michael, Dan, and Angela.
Well, first of all, it's kind of a weird story how it happened that we went down there to Tullahoma, which is where he lived, and we were heading in the direction of home, and let me say something first real quick. Ahead.
I just wanted to say that me and Michael were going to meet up before this tragedy happened. We were planning on meeting up. He gave me the thumbs up. We had been talking for weeks, And he said, I'm so waiting for you to get down here, Danny. He says, I'm so waiting. And I said, I can't wait to get down there. He said, I'll drive to Georgia. I said, no, I'll come down there. But he said, if you were here, I'd be over every day. He said, I need somebody. I need some support. So we tried to, get him connected with everybody we could. Go ahead, Angela.
Yeah, and he gave a thumbs up. He seemed really excited that, we were coming and stuff. Well, anyway, so we're going through, as you guys know, he's no longer with us. So we're going through St. Louis, Missouri. It's time to get our room and whatnot. And we tried to do that, but they're having a big, huge, like Woodstock kind of a music festival going on. And so thankfully I found a hotel, which is where we usually like to stay. Oh, it was in Tennessee. Yeah. Oh, I'm sorry, Dan. It was in Tennessee. Huh. Okay. Well, where was that? Where was the Woodstock going to go on then? Oh, the Woodstock was going to go on in Tennessee. Okay. So we're on the main freeway. Anyway, whatever road's that we were going home on. And so we got the hotel, and come to find out it was 20 minutes off the road. And we're driving down this windy, weird, strange road for it felt like an hour, honestly, because it was middle of the night going through the Tennessee hills in the black dark of night. And we're like, this is crazy. So we almost to our hotel, and all of a sudden we see a sign that says Tullahoma, 4 miles that way. We're like, what the heck? And we just couldn't hardly believe it. Like, how could we be that close to Tullahoma? We just felt like this has got to be God. So we went to our hotel, got up in the morning, deciding that, our journey is definitely taking us to Tullahoma. So we went there, stopped off at this wonderful place to get some flowers. We intended to go to one place, but we saw another one on the way, and it said Grace Flowers, I think. Yeah. And these wonderful, wonderful women. Oh my gosh, they were so wonderful. And they don't take a salary. It's all donations. It's all for God. I mean, just wonderful. So we bought something for the grave, really. They were a really wonderful bouquet of flowers. And then they headed us in the direction of Michael's home. So we got there, and the daughter answered the door, and she was so beautiful and so sweet and so, I don't know, just what you would expect from a really good dad. You know what I mean? Just a beautiful girl. And we said we just wanted to say we're so sorry for you guys' loss, and we're friends of your dad, and here's some flowers. And she took them and the card, and then Dan took a picture of, I guess, was it me and her with the flowers? Yeah. Me hugging her with the flowers? Yeah. So really sweet girl. It was so sad for me anyway to see in the driveway Michael's truck. Oh God, that really was painful. So the girl seemed a little like traumatized a little bit, but super sweet. So we went our way. She said she had to go to work, and sorry, my mom's not here, gotta go. And so we just left. And so our next stop was going to be trying to find the Kingdom Hall. We weren't too successful in that. Decided to try to go figure out how to get to his graveyard. His work first. That's right. So we found out about his workplace, found the main office, went in there, like, oh yeah, I love Michael. Yeah, I know who he is, and da da da. As soon as we asked her about, Michael, a little bit more about Michael and what happened, oh man, closed mouth, won't talk, just will not talk. So then she sent us off to where he actually was working at a maintenance shop, which is part of the school, the Tullahoma City Schools. And so went down to his work and saw his van in the back of the lot, realized that was where he, had died. Yes, sir. We went to Checkers first, didn't we, Dan? AutoZone. Anyway, went to AutoZone first, and the lady just loved him, and really, he hadn't really been talking to her about Jehovah's Witnesses or anything. Just worked there, and she'd known him for a long time since he was a kid, and just loved this guy. Really loved him. Was really sad that he was gone. So off we went to his other work, and like I said, the lady wouldn't talk to us, so she sent us to the mechanic, the maintenance division of the schools, and we went into the office, and a lady met us in the hallway, and said we wanted to give you our condolences for having lost Michael Moore. And she said, oh yeah, thank you. And then she says, well, I can't talk to you about that. I'm not allowed to talk to you about that. And she absolutely was not a one solitary word. And so off we went out of there. So I'll let Dan talk for a minute.
Yeah, hold on 1 second, Dan. Dan and Angela, hold on 1 second, if you don't mind. I'm going to be sending some links out. I'm just going to end the YouTube here. You're still on our radio network. You guys are talking through the phone, so you're still on our radio network. so people will hear you there and on our suite as well. So what we're going to do is we're going to cut the YouTube right here. Now, if you're on YouTube and you want to listen to the rest of this program, we have another program coming up here 10 minutes from now on YouTube. You want to get into 6 screens of the watchtower.com, scroll down to where you see video suite, or use the telephone number to listen in. But we'll be back in about 10 minutes. YouTube is ending now. Dan and Angela, sorry to cut into this talk here that you've got. It's very, very intriguing, very sad, but go ahead and you keep talking, okay?
Okay. So we just wanted to say that, you know, it was like a